Okay. So today we're looking at operations of functions, or operations on polynomials, however you want to say it. So the basic idea here, if you have two separate functions, you can do operations with them, just like you would do just with regular numbers. So one of the key things to point out is there are two different ways you could write this, like our first example of adding two functions. F of g of x is the same as f of x plus g of x. So either way you see this written, our focus is that they're just being added together. Okay. So our example here, g plus h of x. So all we're going to do is we're going to say what is g of x, negative x minus 2. And then I'm just going to line these up. So plus h of x, I'm going to put negative 3x here, minus 4. And then you're just adding them together. So negative x plus negative 3x is negative 4x. Negative 2 plus negative 4 is negative 6. And then that becomes your answer. And that's it. Nothing to it. It looks kind of scary when you first look at it, but really the math's not that difficult. All right, so subtracting functions, same idea, right? F minus g of x is the same as f of x minus g of x. So we're going to take our two functions, we're going to line them up. So I see x squared, but I know in my second equation I have negative 4x. So what I'm going to put for g of x here is I'm going to put plus 0x minus 1. Okay, just so everything can line up here. So when I write h of x underneath it, minus 4x plus 5. And if you really want to, you could even put a 0x squared. So that way everything's got a corresponding term. Okay, and then we're subtracting these. So if you remember when we did this last time, when we were subtracting expressions from each other, instead of actually thinking of it as a subtraction problem, we could change this to addition. And then we just have to change all the signs of our second function. So instead of negative 4x, we can call this plus 4x. And instead of plus 5, we can think of this as negative 5. And then we can just add them together like we did in our first example. So we only have 1x squared. 0x plus 4x is just 4x. And negative 1 plus negative 5 is negative 6. Okay. Obviously, once you get more familiar with this, you don't actually have to do all this work. Like you could just look at what we have here and say, well, I only have 1x. I only have 1x squared, so I'm going to bring that down to my answer. I only have one x term, but I know I subtracted it, so minus negative 4x becomes 4x. The only thing we really had to combine here was this negative 1 minus 5, which is negative 6. I just want to show you what all the work looks like, just in case you're the kind of person who wants to do all the work. All right, multiplying functions, you've done this a bunch of times. This works out to just being FOIL. I'm going to take my two functions, I'm going to put them both in parentheses. So x squared plus 1 times 3x plus 5, and then it's just FOIL. So first term, x squared times 3x is 3x to the third. Careful there. I know that's a little bit different from usually do FOIL. It's not x times x, and we have x squared times x, so x to the third. Outer, x squared plus, or times 5, rather, it's 5x squared. Inner, 1 times 3x is 3x, and then last, colored in negatives. That's not the last terms. Yikes. Last, 1 times 5 is just 5. I go back through, see if there's anything I need to combine. No, we're good here. That becomes my answer. Okay, nothing new, multiplication. All right, our last one, dividing functions. This is either the easiest or the most difficult depending on the problem. Okay, we're going to set this up as a division problem, so also be careful with your order. So h divided by g, so we need to make sure h goes on top. So basically what it looks like is just like that. Take your two functions, put a fraction mark between them. So that's going to be x squared plus 4x over negative x minus 4. All right, so I'll tell you, just to keep this simple, once you get this far, check your answer choices. If you see this as your answer choice, you pick that and you're done. Okay? If you don't see exactly that, it means we can simplify this. So if you don't have multiple choice, once you get here, you should say to yourself, is there anything I could factor out? So if I look at my numerator, the top half, what do x squared and 4x have in common? And you see, well, I can factor out an x, and then I would be left with x plus 4, okay? And then I look down at my denominator and say, well, can I get x plus 4 as a factor there? And since we have negative x minus 4, if I factor out the negative 1, I do have x plus 4. And then this is the only time we can really cancel, is if they have a common factor, right? So x plus 4 divided by x plus 4, all that goes away. So this is equivalent to x divided by negative 1. And anything divided by negative 1 is just the negative version of itself. So all of this, when we divide it out, leaves us with just negative x, okay? This won't always be the case. Sometimes you'll get a division problem. You can't factor it. You can't factor it, and then what's over here would just be your answer, okay? So don't overthink it. If you're like, oh, I got a division problem, but I can't figure out how to factor it. Sometimes you can't factor it. Don't let that get you down, okay? Only factor if you need to, if you don't see your original equation as an answer choice, okay? The other thing I will tell you that you need to be careful with, I know I said when you do division, make sure you have them ordered correctly, right? Whatever the top letter is, make sure that's your numerator of your function. Same thing with subtraction. The order when you subtract matters. So g minus h of x is a different answer than if it had said, what is h minus g of x? So when you're doing subtraction and dividing, remember that order matters. Adding and multiplication, because you have the commutative property, order doesn't matter. Whatever order you want to put them in for adding, multiplying, you get the same results. But be careful with subtracting and with dividing. All right, give it a try. See how it goes. Good luck. All right, here's my